The air above Valoris shimmered like molten glass as the transport vessel cut through the sky. Inside, silence pressed against the recruits. They came from 12 different species, warriors and elites from across the Accord, but none spoke. They all knew the reputation of the Predator test. No one had passed it in 2 centuries. Captain Elias Rourke adjusted the strap of his survival pack. He was the only human aboard, the first his species had ever sent. His eyes, calm and calculating, drifted across the faces of the others, a reptilian Krask soldier flexing claws, a tall avian with metallic plumage preening in nervous jerks, a pair of insect twins chittering in whispers. Every one of them carried weapons humming with energy. Elias carried only a knife, a coil of cord, and a packet of rations. Above them, a holographic projection flickered to life. Commander Thrixon Velcor, the overseer, filled the cabin with his voice. Candidates! You are about to step onto Valoris, the proving ground of predators. Every species has failed. Perhaps today will prove otherwise. His narrow mouth curved in disdain when his eyes locked on Elias. Though I doubt it. The vessel jolted as it touched down. The ramp lowered to a wall of green. Jungle heat and rot slammed into them, heavy and wet. The trees soared like pillars, each trunk wide as a fortress wall, vines draped in curtains. Distant roars vibrated in the air, deep and resonant. Remember, Thrixon said, his voice carrying through the comms. You have until dawn. Survive, and you may claim success. Die, and you become what you always were, prey. The group descended, boots crunching into loam. For a moment they stood together, scanning shadows. Then the Krask bellowed and strode forward, plasma rifle raised. The jungle answered. Something streaked from the canopy, a blur of muscle, claws, and bone-white teeth. It slammed into the Krask, dragging him screaming into the green before anyone could react. Blood sprayed across the ferns. The jungle fell silent again, as if nothing had happened. One of the insected twins shrieked in panic and fired into the undergrowth. The plasma bolts lit the shadows, searing bark, but the forest swallowed the sound. From above came a low rumble, like laughter. Elias crouched, fingers brushing damp soil. Rule 1, he muttered to himself. Don't run. The others scattered anyway. Panic drove them, alien instincts screaming flight. The avian shot skyward, thrusters igniting, only to vanish in a blur as something from the canopy snapped him midair. His metallic feathers rained down like broken glass. Elias lowered himself against a massive root, smearing mud across his arms and face. The stench was foul, but it masked the sweat on his skin. His breathing slowed, his body still as stone. A shadow passed inches from his head, a predator with too many eyes sniffing. It slid away, uninterested. In the council chamber orbiting far above, gasps erupted. Holofeeds displayed every candidate in real time. The councilors watched in shock as Elias remained invisible, ignored by the creature that had just devoured 2 recruits. Primitive trick, Thrixon sneered. Luck. Nothing more. On the ground, Elias rose carefully once the beast slunk off. His eyes scanned the churned soil where the Krask had fallen. He picked up the discarded plasma rifle, then dropped it again. Too loud, too bright, it would only attract attention. Instead, he stripped the utility strap and looped it around his pack. A scream cut through the jungle. One of the insected twins bolted past, mandibles clacking in terror. Behind him came a sleek predator with limbs like knives. Elias didn't move. The twin stumbled, fell, and was gone in a flurry of snapping jaws. The forest grew darker as clouds rolled overhead. Elias moved now, but carefully, each step deliberate. He marked claw gouges in the bark, droppings half hidden under ferns, prints pressed into mud. Every sign told him the predators were hunting along set trails. To survive, he needed to avoid those paths, or turn them to his advantage. He found a thicket of broadleaf plants, their stems hollow and sturdy. He cut several with his knife, sharpening the ends into crude spikes. Sweat trickled down his brow as he worked quickly, planting them in a shallow pit he scooped with his hands. Covered with leaves, the trap looked like nothing more than soft ground. Overhead, a predator's growl rumbled. Elias stayed low, knife ready, eyes on the canopy. He didn't need to win every fight. He just needed to outlast dawn. Hours dragged, the jungle a constant chorus of unseen movement. Every few minutes, a scream would tear the silence, another candidate falling. Elias rationed his water, conserving every motion. At dusk, the survivors numbered only 3, Elias, a broad-shelled reptilian who clung to his energy blade, and one insected twin trembling near a tree. The reptilian shouted across the clearing, voice raw. "Human! Ally with me! We fight them together!" Elias shook his head. "Noise draws them. Stay quiet. Stay still." The reptilian snarled in contempt and charged forward, blade blazing. He made it 10 paces before the jungle exploded. A predator twice the size of a horse barreled from the shadows, jaws opening wider than its body should allow. The reptilian's blade cut once, then vanished in a spray of blood. The insectoid shrieked and fired wildly. Beams lit the clearing. Elias pressed into the mud, every muscle taut. The predator turned instantly toward the noise. A heartbeat later, silence returned. Elias was alone. Night fell. The jungle glowed with faint bioluminescence, vines pulsing with eerie light. Elias crouched by his pitfall trap, adjusting leaves to disguise it fully. His knife rested in his hand, grip steady. The undergrowth shifted. A predator stalked into view, sleek and deliberate, nostrils flaring. It prowled closer, drawn by the faint scent of human sweat beneath the mud. Elias didn't move. The beast crept forward, weight pressing the leaves, then collapsed with a guttural roar as the spikes tore into its chest. It thrashed once, twice, then stilled. Elias exhaled slowly. In the council chamber, silence hung thick. Dozens of alien delegates stared as the human, caked in mud and blood, sat calmly by his kill. One counselor whispered, awed, "He built a trap. With nothing but his hands." Thrixon's face tightened. "It changes nothing. Dawn is far. He will not last." Elias looked up at the alien moon through the canopy. His voice was low, steady. "Rule 2, he murmured. "The jungle gives you what you need. If you know how to listen." The predators roared in the distance, but Elias didn't flinch. He had survived the first nightfall. Humanity's trial had only begun. The jungle did not sleep. Elias sat with his back to a massive root, knife resting across his knees. Bioluminescent vines coiled above him, their glow casting green fire across the clearing. Insects chirped in 100 pitches, a chaotic chorus that never stopped. Far off, a predator bellowed, answered by something larger. He closed his eyes for a moment, letting his ears do the work. Every rustle carried weight here. A falling branch. A creature shifting. The forest spoke in codes. If he listened long enough, patterns revealed themselves. When dawn began to stain the canopy in pale light, Elias rose. His muscles ached, mud cracked on his skin, but he moved with purpose. He drank sparingly from his canteen, then smeared more soil across his arms. The smell was rancid but necessary. A voice crackled from the calm embedded in his collar, Thrixon's. "Human! Congratulations on lasting a single night. The council is surprised." His tone dripped with contempt. "But you will fail. No tool, no fire, no trick will save you from what waits in the deeper jungles." Elias touched the calm. "You talk too much," he said, then cut the channel. He spent the morning moving along animal trails, careful not to disturb them. Where vines sagged with resin pods, he sliced them open. Sticky liquid coated his hands, flammable when dried. He gathered it in a hollowed stalk and capped it with leaves. Primitive fuel. Memories rose unbidden. Days in the Amazon during his early training, watching locals light torches with resin and bark, nights in the Congo where guides whispered about silent hunters. He had learned then what technology often forgot: survival meant blending, not conquering. By midday, the sun turned the canopy into a furnace. Elias stopped near a shallow stream, knelt, and filled his flask. Ripples betrayed something beneath. A slick body darted toward him, teeth flashing. He shifted back instantly. The creature lunged onto the bank, jaws snapping where his hand had been. He drove the knife into its eye socket and twisted. The beast convulsed once and went still. Elias pulled the blade free, wiped it on a fern, and kept moving. Above the planet, in the viewing chamber, the council murmured. Dozens of alien eyes studied the feeds. He adapts faster than the others, one whispered. Another shook their head. He hunts like a native predator. Thrixon remained silent, his mandibles tight. By evening, Elias had found higher ground, a ridge overlooking the endless green. From here he could see smoke rising faintly miles away. Too thin for fire. Probably plasma discharge. Another candidate still fought for life. A shriek tore across the canopy, followed by silence. Elias guessed the survivor had just become another corpse. He needed fire before night fell again. Using a shard of stone, he struck sparks onto dried moss coated in resin. After several tries, a thin flame caught, curling upward. He shielded it carefully, feeding it slivers of bark until it grew steady. The warmth felt alive against the damp chill. The calm flickered again. This time the voice was not Thrixon's but a soft, metallic whisper. Unregistered drone active near your location. Advise caution. Elias froze. His eyes scanned the canopy. A faint hum echoed, too regular to be insect wings. He crouched, easing into shadows. Minutes later, a shimmer moved between branches, a cloaked drone, small but armed with a sensor array. He realized at once, Thrixon's hand. The commander was trying to tip the balance. Elias drew a length of cord from his pack, tied it into a snare, and positioned it between two roots. He tossed a pebble. The drone shifted toward the noise, hovering lower. Its shimmer distorted as it descended, straight into the trap. The cord snapped tight, pulling the drone against Spark. Elias leapt, driving his knife into its core. Sparks burst, lights flickered, then silence. He dismantled it quickly, scattering parts into the undergrowth. No evidence left. Night fell heavy again, thicker than before. The jungle came alive in chorus, but now a deeper thrum pulsed through the ground. Something big moved nearby. Elias built a small perimeter of sharpened stakes around his fire. It would not stop a determined predator, but it might buy a few seconds. He sat with his back to the flames, eyes on the dark. Branches cracked. From the shadows emerged a beast unlike the others, sleek, armored hide glistening, shoulders rippling with muscle. Its head lowered, jaws dripping saliva that hissed as it struck the soil. The mid-tier predator. Elias rose slowly, knife in hand. He had no illusions about winning in direct combat. This would require timing. The creature circled, eyes reflecting the fire. It lunged suddenly, a blur of power. Elias rolled aside, barely avoiding claws that gouged earth where he'd stood. He slashed as he moved, cutting shallow across its flank. The wound bled but did little to slow it. The predator turned, snarling, advancing again. Elias backed toward the pitfall he had dug earlier in the day, a second trap, larger, covered with brush. His breath slowed, every step calculated. The beast lunged once more. Elias leapt aside at the last instant. The predator's weight collapsed the covering. It dropped into the pit, impaled on sharpened stakes below. Its roar shook the trees, then faltered. Blood steamed in the firelight. Elias stood over it, chest heaving. He wiped his knife clean and sat back by the fire. High above, the council chamber was electric with noise. Dozens of voices overlapped in disbelief. He killed it, without energy weapons. Impossible. Thrixon slammed a clawed hand against the console. This means nothing. He cannot defeat the apex. Elias looked into the flames, voice steady, almost quiet. Rule 3, he said. The jungle doesn't forgive mistakes. Neither do I. The night stretched on, but the predators kept their distance. For the first time, the jungle seemed to recognize him, not as prey, but as something dangerous. The second dawn came veiled in mist. The jungle was hushed, as if holding its breath. No birds called, no insects stirred. Even the lesser predators that had stalked the night were gone. Elias knew what that silence meant. Something bigger ruled this stretch now. He stood at the ridge's edge, watching fog drift like ghosts between colossal trunks. His body ached, caked in dried mud and blood, but his mind was clear. He tightened the cord of his pack and checked the resin container he had prepared. Enough fuel for one desperate gamble. The calm clicked alive. Thrixon's voice, sharp and cold, filled his ear. Your end approaches, human. The apex has been released. It is older than our council, older than your species' first spark of fire. You cannot win. Elias muted the channel. He had no patience for gloating. The jungle demanded focus. The ground shuddered. Leaves trembled as something massive moved through the mist. A low hiss carried, rattling through his bones. Then it appeared. The apex was a serpent beast longer than a shuttle, its hide armored in plates of living stone, eyes burning amber. Each movement displaced trees, its coils thick as towers. Its head swung toward Elias, tongue tasting the air. He forced himself still, breath controlled. Direct attack was suicide. This thing had crushed plasma-wielding squads before. He needed fire, bait, and gravity. He slipped downslope, boots silent on wet soil, drawing the monster after him. The serpent slid with terrible grace, every shift of its body tearing earth. Elias reached a clearing where he had spent half the night preparing. Resin-smeared branches, sharpened logs suspended by vines, and a shallow trench filled with dry bark lay hidden beneath leaves. He struck his flint, sparks catching on resin-soaked moss. A flame licked upward, faint but growing. The beast surged forward, jaws splitting wider than his body. Elias rolled aside, thrusting a burning stalk into its face. The flame flared, resin exploding in a burst of acrid smoke. The serpent recoiled, hissing, scales blackened. Not so tough against Earth's oldest weapon, Elias muttered. The monster struck again, faster, tail whipping. Elias dove, pain jarring his ribs as he hit ground. He scrambled toward the vines holding the log fall. The serpent reared, shadow blotting the clearing. He yanked hard. The vines snapped. A rain of sharpened trunks plummeted. The first pierced its neck, another its flank. The beast thrashed, blood spraying hot and dark, but it didn't fall. Its armor deflected half the strike. Elias's heart hammered. It wasn't enough. The serpent lunged again, maw wide. He grabbed the resin container, smashed it across its teeth, and shoved the burning stalk in after it. Fire roared down the beast's throat. Its scream shook the forest. The creature convulsed, smashing trees as it writhed. Flames burst from its jaws, smoke curling from its plated hide. It toppled, crushing half the clearing, then lay still, smoldering. Elias staggered back, chest heaving, skin scorched from the heat. He dropped to one knee, knife still in hand, staring at the ruin he had made. Above, in the council chamber, silence reigned. Dozens of alien leaders stared, their feeds replaying the impossible kill. No species had ever felled the apex. Yet the humans stood alive among the wreckage. A counselor finally whispered, "He passed." Another murmured, "He did more. He conquered." Thrixon slammed his claw against the console. "This test is flawed. He cheated, primitive fire, crude traps. Survival is not cheating." Another delegate interrupted sharply. "He used the world itself. That is the essence of the trial." Thrixon seethed, mandibles trembling. His political maneuver was ashes now, as dead as the beast smoldering on Valoris. Down in the jungle, Elias sank against a root, catching his breath. The firelight flickered across his face. He glanced at the smoking carcass and spoke softly, almost to himself. "Rule 4. The jungle doesn't care who you are. But it'll teach you, if you're willing to learn." The calm crackled with static, then the voice of a counselor broke through. "Captain Rourke? The council acknowledges your success. Humanity has passed the predator test. Your people will take their seat among us." Elias closed his eyes briefly, relief tempered by fatigue. He had proven the point, not with plasma or armor, but with instinct and resilience. He looked once more at the carcass. The jungle whispered around him again, alive now with distant sounds returning, birds, insects, smaller predators emboldened by the apex's fall. The silence had ended. Elias rose, gripping his knife one last time. His voice was low, steady. Earth's oldest teacher still knows best. The jungle swallowed his words, carrying them into the endless green.